So I would like to talk today about the arrest with Jo Liles and the taking down of Lloyd Temple's tent and the other Portland individual's tent. See, I was informed by Polaris that they had forwarded my human trafficking case to law enforcement here in Clark County on June 24th. But before they passed it on, I was working with them every day, communicating with Polaris. I was having issues with an individual, a few of them, that is involved in my Polaris case. Some people in Portland that mobbed me through the streets, and some people here. Now, when the Portland individuals moved up to the camp by PUD, I had informed everybody in the camp that those two individuals were two people from down by the Blanchet house over in Portland. And those two individuals had mobbed me through the streets. They would kick my tent. They would shake my tent. They would chase me around town, calling me a tweaker whore, telling me they were going to fucking kill me. And I told everybody in the camp by PUD for 2 months, every day, these people traumatized me in Portland. Please get them away from my tent. I was communicating with Polaris about all of this, and Jo Liles too. Polaris told me every day that I communicated with them about all of this. They said, contact your local sheriff and police department, because they were working on building up the case to pass over. But the individuals currently in my environment had to be addressed by local law enforcement. So every day when Polaris would tell me to contact law enforcement, I would contact law enforcement, either through email to Vancouver PD or to Clark County Sheriff or to the non-emergency call center, 911, or whatever, the call center thing. And I would communicate 3 different ways how unsafe and uncomfortable these particular individuals were making me feel, and that they had my human trafficking case, and them not doing their jobs allowed documented individuals in my human trafficking case to be physically next to me, traumatizing me further, while they had my human trafficking case on their desk. And this was all ignored. Every day for 2 weeks. So I took down the Portland people's tents, and I made sure that they could not put them back up, so they could not camp right next to me anymore and traumatize me anymore. Then Jo Liles, he walks up to me at the pavilion and starts yelling at me with 3 people. Says, I hear you have a problem with me. I said, yes, I do. Yes, I do. You talk shit, you manipulate, and you lie. And he started yelling at me, I never lie, I never talk shit, and I don't manipulate. And I stood up and I said, say goodbye to your stuff, Joe Bob. I'm evicting you. And I just nicely walked across the field up to the camp by PUD, and I broke down his shit and made sure he could not put it back up, so he could not camp by me anymore. Now, upon both times, I took pictures of each time and sent it to the sheriff and said, I am moving people out away from me that make me feel unsafe and uncomfortable, that have traumatized me, and is documented in my Polaris case. That was also ignored. Then, 3 hours later, after I take Jo Liles' tent down, he comes up to the camp. And he says that he's going to kick my fucking ass. And he's going to send people up. And I said, that's okay. I already took pictures and sent it to the sheriff and told him what I did to your shit and why. And he pulled back his hand to hit me. And I had a stick in my hand because I've had a lot of blows to my head. A stick. Not a club. A stick. A branch from a tree. And a small one at that. And when he pulled his fist back to hit me, facing me, I hit him with that stick, and I hit him in the head. And I said, get the fuck away from me. And he pulled back his fist again. And so when he pulled back his fist again, I hit him again. And I said, get the fuck away from me. And when he turned around and started to walk away and put his arm down, I threw the stick away, the branch, because I no longer needed it to protect myself because he was no longer threatening me. Now he went down to the park and he told officers and people down there and his tweaker friends that I beat him up for $1 for a cup of coffee. And I was a crazy tweaker, prostitute whore. When in fact I don't do drugs, except I smoke a lot of pot. And I've been so traumatized, I haven't been able to have sex in years. So sexually traumatized, I can't even play with myself. Which means I don't do dope and I don't have sex. Now, I was aware that Jo Liles was going to call the cops on me because I hit him hard to make sure he would go away. So I called the police on myself and I said, my name is Rebecca Foley. I'm a human trafficking victim and I just assaulted one of the assailants involved in my human trafficking case. And they said, we will send somebody right to you. When I walk over to the park, I walked up to the 2 officers and I had my arms stretched out the whole time with the Polaris human trafficking case flyer in my hand with the case number on it. And I said, I'm a human trafficking victim. This man I assaulted is documented in my human trafficking case. I contacted you for 2 weeks prior to this, and you ignored it. I said, I assaulted him because I felt unsafe. He is a part of my human trafficking case as a part of the Monty clan, the internet aspect of my human trafficking case. And the whole time I was holding up the human trafficking flyer. And the officers took their words over a known junkie and arrested me. When they took me to the jail, they thought I was on drugs because I was shaking and crying. I was laughing a little bit because I knew the officer fucked up when he arrested me. But that in itself is a defense mechanism. When I got to the jail, I was shaking and crying. And when the officer stripped me, I was shaking and crying, and she thought I was on drugs, not understanding that a year earlier, I had a group of officers in Portland tell me they were going to shoot me in my face and rape me with bats because I wanted to sue the police department. And there's a DOJ report on that. But never mind any of my human rights. I was a drug addict and I was crazy. So it was okay to find entertainment and making jokes at the fact that I was shaking and crying as they were stripping me to put me into jail clothes. And in the holding tank, before they take me up to my cell, I'm in a fetal position on the floor. And all I can do is say, I'm a human trafficking victim. And they ignored it. They actually found it more entertaining because they thought I was on drugs. So when I get out of jail, I contact BARRLAW. And my first communication with BARRLAW was with Scott B. And within the first 5 minutes of our communication, he tells me that he's an investigator for my defense attorney's law firm